Hello there, Bick Benedict here. We're playing Uncharted 3 Remastered on Brutal difficulty. This is my guide and walkthrough. We're currently on Chapter 18 of 22. It is entitled The Rub Khali. So we are descending on over here to the desert, and we're going to head on up a ways and see if there's anything amongst the salvage that we can obtain. Water would be nice. But if you're curious about the meaning of the title for this chapter, according to Google, the Rub Khali is a desert. In fact, it is the largest continuous sand desert in the world that encompasses most of the southern third of the Arabian Peninsula. So it's just a vast desert. And we're going to be going up and down dunes, going in circles at one point, to our great dismay and fear and just utter frustration. So basically, this is not a chapter that you're going to need help for. You're basically just going forward most of the time, and waiting for bleed out screens or fade to white screens. And it's a very slow-paced chapter, but considering all the action that we've had up until this point with previous chapters, it's a nice break. I have to admit it. And with more action coming up, it's some good pacing. I feel it really is. I thought it was pretty clever to hide one of the treasures in an urn up here right next to the by the well. There's and some kind of an urn or a jar that you can shoot, and there's a treasure in it. So we're just going to be shambling around the desert, seeing things, kind of going half crazy, and trying our very best to cling to hope. And there's a narration by one of the villains, the female villain in it, talking about some of the lines from The Wasteland by T.S. Eliot, his poem, The Wasteland. And I thought it was a nice allusion, and I've just come back to this chapter because the previous commentary that I had made for it wasn't up to the standards of Bick Benedict Productions, so I said, let's nix it and let's redo the commentary, because it just wasn't that entertaining. It was pretty flat, and these types of chapters where there's nothing going on, it makes for a very difficult time to narrate it. So there's that's why there's not a lot of highly skilled gameplay out there on YouTube. And I'm not talking about myself being particularly skillful. I'm just saying, like, a lot of the extremely skilled folks that you see out there, like the Shinobiers and the Taz Ones and things like that, they often don't have commentary because of, I guess, various reasons. But one of the reasons would be that they it's not easy to sit in front of a microphone in an empty room, trying to be as silent as you can, with background noise and things like that. It takes a certain type of a personality, and I like to think that I've evolved over the years with my commentary. Because let's face it, you can be as technical as you want, but if you can't hold an audience's attention, you're kind of worthless. So I try to hold on to any value I can with being at least partially entertaining at times. I know that I've used profanity as a way to poke fun at the games and things like that and have fun, but I've tried not to use excessive profanity, and I've just tried to be me, because life can take away so many things from you, but it can't take away your soul unless you sell it in a metaphorical way to something like bad things, drugs, things like that. Oh shit, see this? We've come full circle. We've absolutely come full circle. I guess it's not that hard to do that in a desert. But I've got great stuff in store for you guys. I've got great stuff. I've figured out the whole chapter select nonsense. It appears that the chapter select is it's not broken. It's just it's not the same as it was in the first two games. So I'm gonna be. I think I talked about it at one point, but if you're curious. And I know now why the trophies didn't come up for at least this game, because what happens is when you select a chapter on chapter select, you can only select up to crushing. So what I probably did inadvertently was I started some of the chapters on crushing, and I probably forgot to immediately switch to brutal before I got to the first checkpoint. Now I'm not saying that there is anything nefarious going on with my previous guides, like I wasn't playing on the highest difficulty, but the integrity of the at least the Uncharted 2 and 3, the integrity was not intact, and it was not intentional at all. So the previous two guides for Uncharted 2 and 3, which are now deleted and they're replaced with these new playlists, I did not beat those on brutal, because there's no verification for it with the trophies. So only the trophy will guarantee that you did it the way the game wanted you to do it, without any hiccups. So it was you guys, it was completely unintentional, and I frankly enjoy playing brutal. I got screwed up on the chapter select menus. And you saw the trophy pop up at the end of the Uncharted 2 guide, so that does prove that I did that. And then you will see at the end of this guide the trophy pop up for the Uncharted 3 brutal trophy for this game too. And I've also given some thought to doing the Lost Legacy, since this guide is done now, and I'm in an Uncharted mood. Although I don't care for the Uncharted 4 engine. I don't care for the direction that the game went into. But I'm playing it, and I'm enjoying it. So somewhat. I mean, I'm not enjoying the whole stealth nonsense, but I think I've finally figured out Chapter 4's open world scheme, as it were. But it's interesting to see the evolution of the pirate too in these games. He's just called the Pirate in the first game, and for some reason they started to call him Procoso in the second and third game. I really wish you could select him in the Lost Legacy, but stay tuned for the Lost Legacy, because it just wouldn't seem right not to have it on the channel. Back when the game came out, I was going through a very arduous guide that I was making, God of War 3, and it kind of came at a bad time. So now definitely I have some time. I would like to cover the Lost Legacy if I could, and I'm going to, on crushing difficulty. So Drake, I think he mistakenly thinks that this is a ghost town at first, and it may very well be, but it is not inhabited by ghosts. It's inhabited by human beings, and the settlement, the titular chapter following this one is not very difficult. There's only one part that I think might give you some trouble, but it's actually very well checkpointed, and compared to some of the other parts on brutal, it's very forgiving. And we're talking about a game mode that is not forgiving. Take care.